I am going to introduce one of my favorite people of all time, and that's Lauren Freedman. And I have known Lauren as a friend, as a colleague, as a coworker for many, many years. We go back to, frankly, the very early stages of online retail. So Lauren Freedman, on the B2C side and on the B2B side, kind of wrote the book on where e-commerce is heading. And now, to our advantage at DC 360 here, Lauren does our survey. So I try to take some time to do the big picture. I try to kind of take some time to kind of paint where 2020 was, look at some of the trends that are taking us into 2021. But now Lauren is going to drive home what she's seeing in behavior from actual B2B customers to kind of show you where that trend is taking us going forward. So Lauren, thanks for coming. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Mark. And yes, it's always good. It's always good to know people for a long time. So my topic that I'm focusing on is how and why digital commerce wins over B2B customers. And certainly based on the numbers that Mark shared, you can clearly see that it's happening. So I'm going to be presenting today some of the research from our May 2021 Digital Commerce 360 Buyer Survey. That's based on 71 buyers, a cross-section of people. So I think you'll find some of the results interesting in speaking to why these changes are taking place. So we were very much focused, as you'll see on the next slide, on the frequency of buying, because it's really the sweet spot of the customer base who buys frequently that's going to drive this business. So the first question that we asked was, how would you describe your frequency of buying relative to COVID-19? And you can see the black is the frequent, is sort of the pre-COVID. So 65% of those that responded I already identified themselves as a frequent buyer. They had to have purchased at least 2 times a month. And here you can see that during COVID, they basically took themselves up to 83% were frequent buyers. They didn't have a choice. This was where the transition was happening. So it's exciting to see, and this is the base that we're working off of. So bottom line is COVID-19 saw significant increases in B2B buying frequency. So let's look at some of the why, because of course the why is always the interesting part. So what caused you to purchase online during COVID-19? What we saw here is 4 different areas as I broke them up. And in a lot of ways, these are the reasons why B2C commerce also grew. So the first one was speed. Everybody's in a hurry. I need products quickly, 65% of the people. I want to save time, 52%. Save money, 34%. These are the fundamentals of, the reasons why online has always succeeded. But the other piece that even was always more important than money, and all the research we ever did, was convenience. 58% wanted 24/7 access. I want to do it my way, on my terms, when I want to do it. And as Mark alluded to, I think the supply chain is obviously going to be a huge piece of the puzzle and the equation of what takes place over the next 6 months and longer. Only 23% cited more inventory transparency. I actually think this is going to be higher because this customer, just like the consumer, they want to know, do you have it? And if you don't have it, I'm not buying it. The other piece of it is the store closures were a factor, 23%, and looking for alternatives to out-of-stock suppliers. We all know if we could just use Clorox wipes, everybody was looking for somewhere else that they could buy them. I mean, I guess the good news is they're back on the shelf. The other factor, I think Mark alluded to as well, was the people piece. They might not have wanted to interact with their sales reps, or they couldn't, 26% of the people said. And lastly, the whole notion of the sellers and kind of broadening the equation. Easy to find sellers, 46%, and finding ample information. The beauty of the web, as we've always known, is it has the ability to provide incredible amounts of information. And we'll be talking a little bit about that as I move forward. So my takeaway here is that B2B buyers has shifted online as they needed products quickly. They need that 24 access. They think they can save some time and money, of course. So new buying options. So we asked on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is the highest priority. So how high of priority is this within your organization? We want to know, where does this stack up among others? And the good news here is that 64% gave it an A+ on a priority level, 23% a 6, 7, and only just a handful of people 5 or below. So digital buying is a high priority, with over half of buyers ranking it at least a score of an 8, and it's going to continue to be high. You can see that 25% of people already gave it a 10. So this is critical, and it's going to remain critical and of importance to the B2B buyer. So next, we're going to look at, how has this COVID changed the way you purchase? And this is really kind of dovetails with, why they do it. So to me, it broke into 2 different areas. The first was e-commerce was a go-to. This was the place you had to go to get what you needed. 45% say they're increasing their frequency, researching more online because the information is so robust. Buying from more sources online. They're covering their bases when people don't have it and want to make sure they've got alternative sources, 34%. Obviously visiting stores less because that was just the reality. Buying more product lines from main suppliers. I think this one is a very interesting one because here 26%, are expanding it. So if you're doing business with suppliers that you like and that are working out for you, they're going to be getting more business. And of course, the role of personalization has powered a lot of e-commerce and was a factor for 20% as well. So from a convenience standpoint, in terms of changing the way they purchase, they like the more selection. The web was always amazing at growing assortments, 52%. The efficiency, 46%. The more information that was available to them, 42%, the saving the money and increasing the average order value. Great for the suppliers because more opportunities to see more purchasing. So COVID saw greater interest and frequency due to the selection, the efficiency, the information, and the money savings opportunity. These are the fundamentals of buying and selling, and they will continue to be. So let's go ahead and let's move on here. So we wanted to understand, and I think it really aligns with what Mark mentioned as well, rank the digital sales channels you use most frequently, where 1 is the highest frequency and 5 is the lowest. Hand in hand, you see the 82% citing e-commerce sites and apps and 80% marketplaces. So both are taking place, both are growing, as he alluded to. You do still see the EDI at 15%, e-procurement punch out at 12. So while e-commerce sites and marketplaces dominate, there's still, lots of dollars to be had, as he mentioned. So on the next slide, what we want to touch on is digging a little bit into the marketplace aspect. So we asked, how has your marketplace purchasing changed as a result of COVID? 35% of B2B buyers say that they complete at least half of their buying via marketplaces already. There's so much growth. And as he mentioned, the 250 number, there's just a lot to be had here. When you look deep into these numbers, you see that over half of the B2B buyers report buying more in marketplaces due to COVID. 17% are buying significantly more, while 40% are buying somewhat more. Only, a little bit, a half, really 40% are buying about the same on marketplaces. So again, here, there will be growth, there's opportunities, and there's room for a lot of participation on the part of a lot of sellers in marketplaces. So I think that will be exciting to watch. Okay, next slide. What percentage of your B2B buying volume is currently being done with Amazon Business? Here you see that 1 in 3 B2B buyers does more than 20%, 25% of their buying with Amazon Business. That's important, and you'll be hearing a little bit later the growth and anticipated growth there as well. Let's also look at where the growth is going to be. Next slide. Over the past year, we wanted to really touch, and I think this is, to me, one of the most important slides. Over the past year, how important were each of these when selecting B2B e-commerce sites? What is this buyer looking for? And they want to save themselves time. They want to be efficient. So the on-site search has to be critical. 63% said the ease of finding product via search and navigation. Of course, price is a factor for 57%. The richness of the product information and the imagery, that really is important to this buyer because there's so much to know about so many of these products. I think even contrary to the B2C side. Of course, they want a user-friendly experience. I'm surprised only 49% cited that. They need to get that quick overview of the assortment. That plays into the ease of finding it. And it's critical because of the SKU base involved. And the last one that I'm going to touch on here is the brand perception and trust. That's really, really critical here. And what you find is that with that, they want to do business with people they know, they feel comfortable with. And I think this, again, from a corporate standpoint, is very, very critical. So let's take a look just to wrap things up with a couple of other things here. We asked them, how would you grade the overall experiences you have had to date when you're researching and buying from B2B sites over the past 6 months? Good news, they got a good report card. 67% of B2B buyers grade their experiences a B or higher. Only 15% are excellent though, so there's still work to be done. And as it evolves, we know we're going to see continued improvements in terms of that experience. And lastly, to wrap things up, I want to just share some stats on who this buyer is and how much time they spend online. B2B buying is labor and time intensive. So when you look at the number of people who said they're making their B2B purchasing decisions, 56%, 2 to 3 people involved, 26%, 4 or more. How many sites are they researching? 30% of the people are researching 4 or more sites. They're spending a lot of time looking for this information. And in terms of the time evaluating a specialty product, 56% are spending a few weeks and 18% are spending a month or more. And then let's look lastly at their frequency and where it's headed to kind of dovetail with where Mark ended up. B2B buyers are often in the market. They're increasing their online purchasing with plans for growth in 2021. 42% said they're purchasing monthly, 38% purchasing weekly. So again, you've got a lot of activity, a lot of opportunity. In terms of the percentage of their company purchases being done online, 57% are doing over half of their purchases online. And where are we headed for 2021? More, as Mark alluded to. 69% said they'll be doing more. So with that, I hope this gives you a sense of who the B2B buyer is. And we thank you for your time and hope that you'll continue to participate in both our B2B buyer and seller surveys and to enjoy the editorial information that both Mark and Paul bring to you.